Recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MetaMorphosis Podcast. My name is Milan. I'm very excited for today's episode. I'm going to get a bit closer to the microphone and learn how to breathe. Today's episode is going to be very spicy because I'm going to be speaking about the danger of the feminization of men. Now, I prepared no script for this, and I'm also recording this to be put on YouTube. I will be more and better prepared for this because the more I go deeper into this, the more I find this fascinating, and the deeper I go into this, the more things I discover. So I will present more data as I grow, as this channel grows, and as I continually gain incredible support from people who've been listening to me so far. And thank you so much for that, because I don't take that support as personally as I thought I would. I focus more on the truthfulness of my work and just examining and questioning things as they are. Just now I had an online discussion, which I'm officially checking out of, because I realized my time matters much more to me when it's invested, rather than, like, for example, online discussions are such a double-edged sword, because people interact with me through an image of me. So there are people, today there was a guy who wrote me on Facebook, and I haven't seen him for a year or something. And if I can advise you on doing a similar thing for yourselves, it really improves mental health, and online presence is something that you should really limit in terms of boundaries, which are, again, a very masculine trait, which doesn't mean women don't set boundaries, but I'm going to go into this later. Boundaries as in me as a man, as a guy, saying, look, man, this is not how I do things. I don't do comments on Facebook that are meaningless and make no purpose and sense to me. If you want to have a genuine discussion and dialogue, come to my podcast. That's my condition. That's my prerogative, and that's my mental point of origin. Because as a man, if my mental point of origin is not the self, and not in a selfish way, but as in, I need to help myself so that I can help you, so that we can meet like 50-50 and yet 100% both sides. So it really taught me, because the more my content is out, the more people get affected by it, and I can clearly see, the click rate going through. More people view my content on YouTube, more people listen to my podcast, I get more response to the content. So it becomes evidently clear to me that something is making people respond. Now again, and this is the fantastic part, and I'm gonna send this video and this podcast to the two guys that I had conversation with today, conversation, if I can call it that way, that you're going against me, the person, when I'm trying to discuss something. And both of these men are highly, highly feminized and feminine. And there is nothing inherently wrong with that for them. I mean, I can tell exactly which way they're headed and how their lives are going to go. And I'm no prognosticator, nor telling them, yeah, this is how it's going to be. But this has become such a clear pattern for me to see, because I've been more manly. And of course, when you do that, feminized men will see you as more threatening. And there is a very good reason for that. And the reason is very simple. It's because you are more assertive and dominant in your communication, and you're not as interested in finding some common ground with everyone and being liked by everyone and making everyone feel good. When I hear that, I think I'm throwing up when I hear that. Oh, but that made me not feel good. As if not a single guy is responsible for their own emotions and how they feel. They've become so brainwashed. And again, this is a feminine imperative. Like, if women speak about emotions, because that benefits them, because they have men who comfort them, and they have sisterhoods that comfort each other. For us men, and I'm not making a division here, men and women, but I'm telling you how we are biologically, how we're programmed. We act like we enact our emotions. We enact and enforce our boundaries. We don't go around and say, this is my boundary and this is it. No, we enforce it. We do things. If someone does something I don't like, I act. I go and tell them. Because then the response that they get in their minds is, well, as long as you just tell me it's not okay, I'm going to keep doing it. And that's why we have so much separation also. One of the reasons we have so much separation between men and women, because we have so many feminized men that have lost touch with their ideals, with their values, with their core values and aspects of who they are as men. Because you can go on a limb and make a metaphysical, spiritual, whatever claim that we're all one and that sex doesn't matter and we should see each other as equals. I mean, for sure, if you're, high on mushrooms and in a highly meditative state, an enlightened state over 700, but that is not the default human modus operandi. You do have emotions, you do have a default and autopilot according to which you operate, of course. And as such, you perceive the world a certain way in accordance to your core values. And if you don't have these core values, and you very likely don't as a feminized man, because you are divorced from your essence, which is masculine, which is leadership, which is strength, which is power, which is determination and focus, for example, and many, many more. And again, when I argue with people, if I have values, then I stand for my values. And then the argument people will make is, for example, well, you're so inflexible with your values. You should be more like this. You should be more like that. And that is exactly how you get tested as a man. Because if you listen to every whim and everyone's comment, everyone's opinion, then how do you actually evolve and grow into becoming the person that you are? Because then that is the beauty of having an opinion, because many people are not gonna like it. Many people are not going to like if you have a unique perspective and standpoint on what you do. For example, today I made a public post telling people that I have this podcast and I use it to speak the truth. And I said I'm writing a book in which I'm going to elaborate on the process that I went through in my relationship to help men, to help other guys see the processes and situations I went through as a man in a relationship that was extremely damaging to me. And I've forgiven, I mean, it's work. But that woman never reached out. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's the best. But addressing the lies and the manipulations and all things that have happened so that guys can catch this before it happens and have self-worth and self-respect, which I have now, but didn't have as much back then, because guess what? Partially because I was also feminized myself. I was all about this feminine empowerment and feminine imperative and femme-centric, gynocentric way of thinking. And yes, women are queens and goddesses and all this is beautiful. And women make no mistakes. That was the biggest delusion I was telling myself, because the consequence of this kind of brainwashing narrative, such as, for example, solipsism, which is innately tied to female nature and women, is that there is no such thing as doing something wrong. And if there is no such thing as doing something wrong, then you can never hold anyone accountable. And that is exactly what you will be convinced as a feminized man, as a feminine man, that, just surrender, just let go. And absolutely, that's a beautiful thing too. You can surrender and you can let go, but that is not your default state. That is my main argument here. My argument is that you can surrender, you can let go, but that is not who you always are. And you cannot artificially make yourself to be that, because that, again, is conditioning. And that, again, is you having a programmed version of yourself and an autopilot that you act in accordance with. Your emotions and your responses to your emotions as a guy, as a human, are perfectly fine and valid. Question them for yourself and do whatever the fuck you want with your life and what feels right for you. There will always be people that are going to tell you that they don't like what you're doing, and they will find these nice ways to pack it too. They will pack it up so nicely and they will wrap it up so nicely. Like, there's a guy today who commented, made a long message, and I haven't even heard from him in a year or something, and we only exchanged few interactions, and I really respected the guy. And he wrote to me on Facebook, commented like, oh, I'm not sure if I fully see you or resonate with you. And that's exactly the feminine conditioning I'm speaking about. Because for you to truly want to see someone, then you need to make initiative for that. And this is my direct message to you, my friend. If you want to meet, if you want to see what I'm about, see what this is about, then you make action. Then you walk towards that goal. But what you have done as a guy who is highly feminine and in his feminine, and I know that for a fact, is, oh, these are my feelings and I don't see you. So for me, it's complaining and complacency. And I give it almost no attention because that doesn't put me in action anymore. Because I don't care about that as much. Because what I care about now is people who are willing to make genuine effort and action to come and meet if they don't understand something, and even better, if they wish to understand something and not just complain about it and defend someone else. Because I'm certain that the reason that man reached out was to defend my former partner from something that's not even going to happen, because all I'm going to do is going to write a book and have a online class and teach my men, just talk about these things with my men, my guys with whom we work together, and we resolve and learn about women and intersexual dynamics. And that is exactly the purpose of this. It's in a way sabotage, although I'm not going to give it a label and I'm going to, see it for what it is, which I can't because it's on social media. So, the feminization of men, and this is how it looks like. So these are the men that write to me on social media that are definitely not in their masculine power, and you can tell that. You can tell that they're not because they're not taking active action and active effort in controlling their lives and doing something. The first guy who reached out, I said, come to my podcast, let's talk. Well, I don't know about that. To the other guy who wrote that long comment, if you know where to find me if you want to talk to me. Now, I bet you $1,000 that to those men, that is intimidating. And that is why you're not a masculine man. And I mean, I can't even call you a man, honestly, but I'm not going to make that division, because then we divide even further ideologically as into like what is a real man and what isn't. But the lack of courage to be challenged and to engage into a discussion, if you want to, of course, is the hallmark of men, because men built societies and civilizations alongside women owing to those qualities, owing to that courage that women do not have in the same sense. And you can take wars as an example, like, women and children first. We protect women and children. We don't want women and children to be harmed. That is the natural order of things. Not because I'm a man and she's a woman and this is our child. No, because as a man, I genuinely, it's an imbued it's an imbued purpose and coding for me to want to protect my progeny, to want to protect my family, to want to protect the woman that I'm emotionally invested with and whom I want to be the mother of my children, doesn't matter. But we forget that because of many factors due to which both men and women are entering an enormously complicated relationships with each other, where there is no different. We're losing marriage, we're losing monogamy, we're losing genuine connections with each other, and I'm witnessing people, I'm not making this about myself, but I'm witnessing people just sleeping around with no consequences and then waking up realizing that, I'm never gonna find the one. Thinking that that's just the way it is and not a consequence of set of choices and decisions related to sexual and mating strategies. And again, going back to biology, we cannot stop pretending that while we are all this we are divine and we're timeless, shapeless, and formless, true, but we are also this. We are this ground, we are this body. And that is where the masculine is so important, I believe, to remind that, to say, hey, wake up. Like that dream, we all know that dream. We know the dream, the illusion of life, and that all this is a game, but if you know it's a game, then play it right. Play it well. Learn the rules of the game. Learn what to do, what not to do. And never stop learning. That is the beauty of that. And for that, we have to be challenged and we have to be uncomfortable. Because if we do genuinely want to grow, it's uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable speaking about this and being confronted almost every time I post something on social media with a genuinely good intention, which people cannot see. They cannot see that when they read my posts. They can only project their own doubts and beliefs, which they actively do. Which is why, as of today, I decided no more engagement on social media with people who want to have a discussion. If you want to have a discussion with me, and this is a public invitation for everyone, you come to my podcast. That's it. I invite you. I'm not making this as an imperative. I invite you, come, fight me, or argue with me, or debate me, whatever you want to do. Just don't hide behind a keyboard. Don't hide behind, it's just letters on the screen, man. It's just, I cannot relate to that. And that's why I'm emotionally detached from that. All these people who roast to me today, the reason I'm not taking you seriously is because of exactly the lack of relationship and relation to one another. And that's why I tell you, you want to talk to me, come to my podcast. It's a public building. We can do it at my house, but I actually don't want to do it in my house. There is a studio that I can book. We can go, we can have a podcast and really talk about things such as feminized men, for example. All right, so why is that a problem? Why is it a problem being a feminine man? Okay, just to clarify that. There's nothing wrong with you being feminine as a man. There is a healthy balance between feminine and masculine that both sexes embody. And there are men that are very feminine, there are women that are very masculine, and I would not debate if that is right or wrong, but what I like to talk about is that masculine men that really are in their masculine tend to also, that are manly men tends to be naturally equated and attracted to highly feminine women. And the beautiful thing about this is the so-called protector dynamic. Because men feel the natural urge to protect and preserve these women. And they feel the natural, beautiful urge to provide. But here is the catch. And this is something that I talk about with my men and that within my online communities. That we make the mistake as men, again, the result of our conditioning and gynocentric conditioning, that we put women on a pedestal and we engage in relationships straight away. I mean, intimate, genuine relationships, because this actually only primarily benefits women, because it's easier for women to then, in a sense, use us, and I'm not saying I'm used, but use us for their hypergamous gain. Now, if you don't know what hypergamy is, I suggest that you look it up, because things will start making more sense to you if you go deeper into this and understand the intersexual dynamics. Because if men enter relationships with women, they really want to, their primary purpose normally is settling down with them, having kids with them, because we seek out women that have a good opportunity and high chance of parental investment. So I'm seeking parental investment. I'm seeking to see, basically vet this woman pretty much, to see that this woman is a viable marital partner. And marriage is just an institution. So what is more important there is parenthood, that this woman can be the mother of my children. And as a feminized man, I kind of don't see that. Like, if I'm a feminized man, then I kind of treat all women as these goddesses. I make no distinction and difference between them. And I'm going to get used for their hypergamous gain. So they're going to use me until they find someone who's basically an alpha or a better guy or whatnot. And that is how you get male suicide, for example. So you have men that are betas that have their feminine gynocentric conditioning, that genuinely believe that if they get with a woman, that if they be that perfect guy, the nice guy, everything that they, and pay attention to this, everything that they say that they want, and then they act in a completely different way and choose partners that you would never imagine they would choose after you. And that is the problem here, not seeing this for what it is and trusting women on what they say instead of what they do. And I'm not saying don't trust women. I'm saying learn to interact with women, be with women. Because as a feminine and feminized man, you don't see women from a male masculine perspective. And please remember that. When you're with women and you label yourself as feminist and feminine, you do not interact with women in the same way in which you would if you were a masculine man. Because if you had any... It's so funny talking about this. You would not even be around women unless you were seeking out a mate and with that purpose. So I don't see any purpose of spending time around women that you don't have a mutually beneficial relationship from, that you don't pursue as for dating, as a dating prospect, or to be your mate. And I'm not saying that men and women should not be friends, not even for a second. And I'm not saying that it is uncommon that there are male-female friendships. But as a masculine man myself, that actually keeps increasing his testosterone by the day, and that gets more really, really in tune with his masculine. And I'm not making this about myself. Oops, I got a message. I'm not making this about myself. I'm not saying I'm that guy, I'm that potential. No, I'm using myself as an example because I want you guys to relate to this, or if you can. So I increase my testosterone. I do things that are genuinely to the highest benefit of the self, which is speak the truth and just be fearless about it. Be brave, be courageous, say things how you feel. Like if I feel that you, for example, that I don't want to have a conversation with you. I think you're not eligible to have this conversation. And I'm going to say that. I will say exactly that. And that allows me to speak my truth. That allows me to tap into my power. That allows me to say, well, I have the freedom to say this. And if this was wrong, I can learn from that mistake. And if this was right, that will be evident in the long run or whenever. But you just need to speak and not be afraid of conflict. Because by being afraid of conflict, you keep yourself small and you diminish your testosterone. Like the characteristic of, man, if you're a manly guy, you're not afraid of things, or you're afraid of much less or fewer things than a feminine and feminized guy. And there is a hierarchy to that, and there's a difference to that for a good reason. Because men who are fearless go for what they want and what they believe in, because they have core beliefs and values that they act upon, and that's why they make things happen in life. They make things happen because they fight for them and they fight for what they believe in, and they're loyal. But if there is no aspect of loyalty, as these feminine men present, and if you change your opinion all the time because you adopted a gynocentric mindset, a feminine mindset, which tells you that how you feel is the correct way. So, for example, someone can say, Milan, I feel that you're lying. So no matter what I say to this person, the fact doesn't matter. The feeling does. And as long as I don't cater to the feelings of this person is going to think that I'm lying. And nothing will change that until that person learns to balance, regulate emotions, and accept reality, and is able to perceive reality and heals his or her traumas. And in this case, it's feminine men. So you need to understand the dangers of being around feminized and feminist men. I'm not saying all men are like that. I'm not saying feminine men are like that. I'm saying that there is a significant category and portion of people who are like that, and that you can also notice this, that these men are usually very close to women. They're like, oh, I'm your friend. You can confide in me. You can trust me. I'm here for you. Yes, sister. Yes, queen. Whatever you do is right. But it's not. Because again, as a guy, you're approaching women from a feminine standpoint because you're gaining benefits and favors from them. And that is suicide to you, because you're being put in the friend zone as a guy. And mind this, pay attention to this. You're being put in the friend zone, which literally means your genes, in a biological sense, your genes are not worthy of being propagated into the next generation by me, by this uterus, by this body. And therefore you're a friend. And therefore you can remain here and be disposable to me. And when I meet the next guy, when I meet the guy, then I'm going to be spending time with him, because he will be actually the one that I truly, genuinely desire. And you will be there, when I call, when I need. And you need to be very mindful of this as men. I'm not saying women are evil. This is female nature. And the more we learn and understand female nature, the better and easier it is for us as men to adapt to that and to learn how to play that game, instead of being hurt and disappointed by women and hate women, which I'm not going to say shouldn't. If you feel hatred towards someone, you feel it. But to just know how to play the game and navigate the playfield, that's it. Taking a break. And also, one more thing. Here is a hypothesis. If you are a feminized or feminine man, then most things I said today are going to offend you and you're going to take them personally. And here's how I know that. Because, again, you're not rational, you're emotional. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be emotional. That means that all you are is not just emotions. You are much more than that, and it is much more than that. And emotions are a response. And I'm going to quote all these quasi-spiritual people that I spend so much time with. That emotions are an invitation for you to go inside yourself, for you to just go deep and be like, oh, well, this is how it should be, and this is the reality of things, and explore them on your own. Just explore things, and maybe this is why this is like this, and how do I go deeper into this? Because it's your own journey, it's your own discovery. I'm not supposed to tell you these things. But if you're a guy, then you're most likely docile if you're feminine and feminized. It's just because you don't have that masculine drive. You don't have high goals or ambitions. And that's not a hallmark of masculinity either. Don't get me wrong. It's having values, telling the truth, being honest, working on oneself, improving oneself, loving, genuinely, authentically, honestly, wanting to improve the world, wanting to leave a print in the world, doing something, being ambitious. That's the hallmark. That's the hallmark of being a man. And you can observe that historically, because there is a reason we admire heroes, and there's the hero myth, and there is, for example, if you look at Greek mythology and Greek gods, how they've been chiseled to be not so different than humans, and how they've been made to look, and how, for example, if you look at Greek culture, how much emphasis they put on strength of the body and the spirit, and how strong and masculine they were. And that is just one example of that, because deep inside, you know what masculine values are, and you know what feminine values are. And no one needs to tell you that. It's just how much you're in touch with that. And here's the catch with this. If you are not in touch with that, which is you, the core, the essence, the source, then you don't see it for what it is, and you don't see it as it is. Then you have ideals as if how things should be, instead of how they are. And how they are is that masculine men and feminine women are genuinely and naturally attracted to each other. And that is a fact. That is not something I made up. That is not something that is foreign to us. But we've conditioned and brainwashed each other so much through ideological lens, through all kinds of societal propaganda, that we no longer happen to know or have the ability to discover what is, what isn't. That is one of the reasons I have this podcast and this channel, because I love this discussion and debate, and I hope it encouraged you also to tap into who the hell you are as a man, what you want from your life, and start now. Just start now. Just what it is that you want from your life and build towards it and do it. I don't want to make this about myself, but I'm the prime example of that. And a lot of people don't like what I do. And those people that do, they contact me in private. They don't go online and say, yeah, I support you, because they know my work is controversial. And I use myself as an example to tell you that I only keep increasing and progressing in my process by following what I see and perceive to be my essence and my masculine essence. And me being a man, God damn it. Because that feels right. That is the general. That's what my dad taught me when I was a child. That's what I learned growing up. I fall down, I scrape my knee, I wipe up the blood and wash it off at a creek in the river. I don't cry like, oh, I hurt my knee. It's okay to cry, don't get me wrong. But I think there is so much more to explore and understand in terms of what masculinity is, what being a man is. Not as per one specimen and then one size fits all. But if you don't discover that, like for example, if you have no muscle, if you have no high testosterone, which is your hallmark, it's your sexual mark. If you don't have high testosterone, I genuinely cannot take your word seriously, for example, that you're a man. Because you're not tapping into your genuine nature. You don't have to be a hairy bodybuilder for that. You need to be a confident, honest, and a decent man. Muscle is just one of the prerequisites. But we tend to ignore that because we think that's a shallow way of thinking. Because we are so up here that we forget what is here, down there, which is the basic, which is the body. And without the body, body is one aspect of this enormous whole that you are. So don't neglect your body, because you really need your body, man, to work. And you need to work it, because that's how you will get more in touch with yourself. And that's how you will, guess what, defend your values as a man. Because when your values are tested, and if you're not a man who can stand up to himself, to his family, to his woman, then you will just be like, no, okay, I'll just adapt. No, I'll just give my kids, I'll give them vaccines. And yeah, I'll just let my wife cheat on me. That's okay. I'll just let my girlfriend talk shit about me. That's fine. I'll just let her do whatever she wants. No, you stop. You don't allow that to progress. You have a role and you have authority over your own life and yourself. And you need to fucking learn how to use that. And I can go on with that for a long time, but I'm really happy with what we've done here today. And I hope that you got something from it too. Please support this channel. If you're following me on YouTube, please like this podcast, share it around if you liked it. And I'm also on TikTok, where I create content. It actually proved to be a very, very good platform if you know how to do business on it. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast, and thank you for your time. I've taken 34 minutes of your time, which I'm really grateful for. And please, if you have any ideas, if you want to be on the podcast, if you want to discuss about these things such as intersexual dynamics, male-female dynamics, I'm here. Reach out. I'll fight you. So take care. Bye.